folks. Welcome to the next Facebook Live here at Casper College, the Theater and Dance Department program. And today we are excited to share with you information and interesting tidbits on the show Charlotte's Web, which is opening this next week, Thursday.
Yes.
And today we have the director, choreographer, Jody Humans-Jones here to discuss the show a little bit. So, First question is dancing in a barn.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, tell us about
We're
this.
dancing in a barn.
Why? And Charlotte's Web and pigs, I've heard of pigs flying, but pigs dancing is a little bit interesting.
Well, in
so
this
what
show,
are we talking?
in this show, pigs fly and dance and roll
Awesome.
and jump, and the only thing the pig never does is open a barn door. Because animals don't open barn doors.
Okay.
So that is one thing that happens in the barn, that the animals never open a barn door.
So why did you just all of a sudden? How did Charlotte come into being for you? Why did this? It must have spoke to you in some way.
Well, when I was normally coming into this concert, the contemporary dance concert, I'm thinking about what I want to do about 15 months in advance. When I didn't know I was going to be in this slot until about April of last year. So I definitely have not had the 15 months. Mm-hmm. So on the turnaround fly, I was really, we knew we were doing identity. I kept thinking, okay, dance is identity. I mean, it is
identity
so crazy.
Identity was the theme of this season that
right,
we had.
The umbrella theme.
The umbrella theme.
So fitting in that, and I kept thinking, you know what, that's what dance is all the time. I mean, dance is all identity all the time. And I didn't want to do something that was just what we do all the time. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking, what haven't I done in a while, or what would be fun that would match into that identity theme? And you know what, I haven't done a children's story in a while. Thumbelina was the last one that I did, which was several years ago. And so I kind of started thinking, what children's stories speak identity? And it hit me like a thunderbolt. Hello, Charlotte's Web. And I happened to be with my youngest daughter at the time, Ileana, and I said, hey, what if I did Charlotte's Web for the dance concert? And she lit up like a Christmas tree. She's like, Mom, that's the best idea ever. So that's what started it, and from then on, I kind of ran with it. It's not been the easiest choice I've ever had, I will tell you.
Well, I've never known you not to take a challenge.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
So a challenge was taken. It's been a really interesting journey. What I very quickly realized was that everyone thinks Charlotte's Web. We all did, we read Charlotte's Web. Oh yeah, there's the pig and there's the spider. There's a few animals here and there. That should be a pretty small cast. Wrong. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of characters in this story that no one ever remembers, but are really integral. So we have a cast of 20, which is huge.
That's huge.
And we do have there are people that have to be in the show. So to tell the story, and we don't have a narrator, so everything has to be told through movement.
So what was your very first memory, first experience with Charlotte? Were you young? Were you a kid?
My own personal?
Yeah, your own personal.
Yeah. I remember my third grade teachers, they would read books to us. We had certain time during each day where they were reading chapter books to us. And we were also reading those chapter books on our own, and then, other books. Mm-hmm. So I remember my third grade sitting in a group of students of, there was probably 25 or 30 of us, and she was sitting on the chair and she's reading Charlotte's Web to us. And that was crystal clear.
And what do you remember about that? What did you take away from that as a third grader?
I probably didn't take the identity theme apart from that at all. That's for sure.
Yeah. But it resonates with kids.
Resonated.
And so what is it that resonated with you as a third grader?
Well, for me, because in third grade, we owned a pet store. My family, my father had built a pet store and we owned it, and I helped out at the pet store often. So animals were part of my daily living, and lots of different types of animals. Not your just average cat and dog. And so for me, it was just really interesting to think about the friendship between a pig and a spider. And that really probably is what I took away from it, was that this was a friendship that no one could break and that no one would expect, but was cultivated in such a cool way that that was just, it was so open and so generous. And that's probably, that friendship is what I pulled from it. It's ironic because I didn't really remember taking away any ideas or memories of Templeton the rat. And I think it's really because I really hated rats right then.
Well,
it was one of those, I don't want to remember that there's a rat in this story.
Well, what I found when I was a kid, and I was trying to think back as to when it first hit me. And what caught me by surprise was the fact that Charlotte ended up being, you always expect the spider or the rat to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know? And it shocked me that Charlotte was actually the
good guy.
The good guy.
And in all actuality, so is Templeton. Because it doesn't exist. So that's really where we went with this. That's interesting because, yes, we looked at, you think of, I personally went on the research and the journey of thinking, what is it about these characters that, one, make them iconic to us for remembering them when we were little. Yeah. But what is it about them that relates to our world today as well? And I arrived at an appearance issue, because Charlotte is a spider. Typically, spiders are pests, and people want to get rid of them. I mean, they see it and they get rid of it.
Look at Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
When Frodo went up to the top of the mountain, and he was spun around,
spiders were
and all the old Godzilla. Any of those types of things, you see the spider as being
even and we've laughed about this actually in the cast. Even Gilligan's Island, the large spider that attacks them and gets them in a cage, and they're all in a cage, and the spider wants to eat them, is hysterical. So we've laughed about, in history, society has promoted this stigma of this spider. So we have that creature. Well, we also have a rat, which definitely, if you've ever lived in any city, is not a creature of love and joy. They're horrible. I mean, and they're pests. People try to do anything to get rid of them. There was actually a YouTube video that was posted about 3 college girls getting rid of a rat out of their dorm, a double-decker dorm thing, and it was the most hysterical video I've ever seen, because it really was what we were already playing with Templeton. So, you think of these 2 creatures that are really, they could just go away in most people's lives.
Sure.
Well, then you have Wilbur. Well, pigs, people love pigs, but pigs are raised primarily for a food source. And Wilbur is a runt. Therefore, Wilbur, his purpose as a food source has been definitely deflated, which is why they go to kill him immediately after he's born, because he's the runt. What are we going to do with him? He's not going to grow. He's not going to provide us with what he's supposed to be providing us with.
Well, you know what? We're in a theater,
and this happens.
This happens every once in a while where we lose the lights. We are actually doing this. This is not a shock. We are doing this on purpose, because we want to show the importance of lights in a theater show. And when we pop back up, what we're going to do, the lights are up, we're going to take Jody over here and explain a little bit. If you can kind of back up a little bit and kind of just take a sweep, let's say from here over to here. And this is the biggest challenge, I would think, is to try to tell a story through dance. And so trying to do that and incorporate the dance in a barn type of a setting, but still have places that they can get on and off stage, for example.
Right. So I was very fortunate in working with our designer, Chantal, who really saw the same images that I did. as far as, I mean, we have several locations actually in the story of Charlotte's Web. That was a whole nother thing, is that we don't have like, flats to go on and off to show different locations. But the story does not happen in one barn.
Right.
The story actually happens in 3 different barns.
And also at the 4-H too.
Well,
right?
the fair barn.
The fair barn,
The fair
yeah.
barn. Plus you have the open barn, or the open fair. Plus you have just general seasons that happen to show passing of time.
Right.
Plus you have the Zuckerman farm, you have the Arable farm, and you have the dump, which Templeton has to go to several times. Go and dig things through the trash. So it was really wonderful that we got sort of on the same plane, that we could create these soft drops, which did allow dancers to come in and out fairly easily. But they're painted, as you can see, wood grain painted. So these are our different directionals from the barn.
So dancers can actually come out of any of these.
Right,
So
and they do. Yep, and they come back on. Right, exactly.
Up through.
Which is really
With
interesting.
better grace than that,
Yeah,
however.
which is interesting, but it is it has become also a challenge, because as you can see, they're solid, which means they cannot see anyone on the other side, which for dancers is
Okay.
really difficult
Yeah,
at
that's
times. So they're really honed into who's where and what's happening. Often their cue comes from across the stage because they can't see the person beside them. So that's an interesting thing too. What we also have are a various number of what we lovingly call the web strings.
Oh, very cool.
So
Very cool. So these become
the web strings,
intertwined then.
the web strings are being used throughout this. And the cool thing about this is that once Charlotte spins webs with them, and you can see they start to react. She can release them, they react. We have dancers moving through them. Charlotte definitely moves through them 4 times, using them throughout the stage, various different movement, and it makes this beautiful present web
And artistic
on the stage.
also.
It's a
Very
present
metaphoric.
web. And then we have the actual web, where the actual words will be seen, radiant, some pig, terrific, and humble, which are very important to the survival of Wilbur, to the gratification, to the uplifting of Templeton, the pest rat, who now has helped to save Wilbur's life. And also, Templeton saves Charlotte's legacy. There's no way for Wilbur to get Charlotte's eggs after she dies. And therefore, if there's no eggs, there's no spider, there's no legacy for Charlotte, which she's giving everything to him.
And we aren't going to give the ending away,
No.
however.
But we do have that surprise.
So you might, unless you come to the show a week from Thursday, it goes through next week and then the week after that. And if you don't come, you don't know whether Charlotte's eggs and Wilbur turn into eggs and bacon on a skittle.
Oh, there you go. Or on a stick. Because we
Or-
do go to the fair.
That's true.
So it could be on
a
a stick.
Dumped in cornmeal.
Absolutely.
So you got to find that out. We hope that you stick around and keep watching these Facebook Lives to hear more information. Tomorrow, actually, we're going to have a Facebook Live at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's going to be covering the costuming aspect of Charlotte's Web with our costumer, Daryl Wagner. So we hope to see you then.
Which is super fun.
Jordy.
Or Jordy.
Jody.
We've only worked together for a few years.
Oh, just a few. Thanks so much, Jody. And we will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.